Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back one more time to the greatest podcast you can find on YouTube/Facebook. This is the State of the Nerd Union, your center for everything gloriously nerdy. I am joined once again by three of the most reliable co-hosts I have. The most often to voice their opinions, unlike some people who only show up whenever Kyle does, looking at you, Greg. Joined tonight by the Lawman, Judge Trevor Law.
Hello, guys.
Kenneth Ship, who I'm not going to say anything about because I insult him almost every week now, so I'm going to give him a break.
Oh, thank you. Hey, in Greg's defense, I don't think he owns another computer or a mic, so, you know.
Moving on. We're also joined by Jerry Maynard in his POS phone that he's going to communicate with us with, so he might be in or out tonight. So sometimes
Point of sale?
Jerry Maynard.
Take that, Greg. I can still talk.
Oh, yes. And of course, well, I'm the resident a-hole of the group, the one who tells it like it is.
He's like our Dr. Cox.
You had to work in calling me a cock. Anyway.
I didn't call you a cock. I called you
okay.
the Dr. Cox.
A doctor of them. This
Back
is Zach.
to the thing.
Tonight we are talking about the DC film slate, the DC universe coming out, and our general thoughts on it. There is quite a bit of release of information that they put out recently. They released quite a huge film slate at one time, much more than Marvel did.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel, in their initial creation, released 2 films that we didn't even know was created.
Mm-hmm.
And then announced 4 more, and slowly over time announced it. DC decided to announce 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 more movies coming out into their opening universe. And tonight,
Okay, wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
oh yes,
I'm behind.
tonight we are going to talk about all of our feelings about the DC universe.
When we have feelings.
Okay, so first off, I want to give why this is happening. Marvel, with their incredible success with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, has been, keep wanting to build on it. I mean, after all, this started off with just Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk, and then it's just absolutely blown up and gets bigger with each and every phase. DC is trying to catch up with that because, let's face it, DC does have as much, if not more, material than Marvel to make their own massive cinematic universe. But they're trying to make it all in just one big, massive, and trying to catch up. Because Warner Brothers lost their big cash cow, which was Harry Potter. And they're trying to build another massive mega hit franchise. They really need that to sort of round out their entire slate. So they're like, okay, we'll make a bunch of DC movies. That's great. It's working for Marvel. We'll do that for DC. How do we feel about this, guys? I mean, most of us are huge comic book fans.
There is one thing I think that DC does have over Marvel, and it's that they have all of their own heroes.
Mm-hmm. That is very true.
Marvel had to relegate themselves to using, at the time, B players.
Yep.
At the time, Avengers was not the most high-selling comic book. Avengers has become, since then, the highest-selling team comic book at Marvel Studios. X-Men was the highest-selling team before them. And they didn't have... Spider-Man was the highest-selling single-character comic book. Over time, this has changed. And after all these movies come out, these have been an increase of comic books ever since then. But moving on to DC, DC has their heroes. They've got them all. They can play with whoever they want to. So that's one thing I think DC has over Marvel.
Yeah, but, okay, that's sort of a... That is a... Yes, they have that over Marvel, but that's also sort of the mud in your eye. Because they took a character like Iron Man and made a significantly better movie with a character who is not as well known and not as beloved as Superman and Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's compare those two, because they're going to be the equivalent movie.
Let's go ahead and start that with, because Iron Man was the initial start of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
And
We
so-
didn't know it in the first 2 hours of the film up until those last 2 minutes that this was a creation of a new universe. This was just it was just an Iron Man movie. And I remember going into Iron Man, it was 2008, and I was like, well, oh yeah, Iron Man's coming out with a movie. I never really read a whole lot of Iron Man comics before that. I wasn't really that jazzed. I didn't really care. Because 2 months later, Dark Knight was coming out, and that's all I cared about.
Right.
And 2
Yeah.
hours and 2 minutes later, my mind was blown.
Yeah. Because that's the second best comic book movie that's ever been made. Period. Like, hands down. Iron Man is.
That is a debate for a different day.
We will.
I am not sure about that, but it's good.
I said second best.
Yeah.
Guys, that's another.
That's not the problem. That's not what I have a problem with.
I mean,
But-
I know it's first best, but saying it's second best,
Mhm.
that's a debate for another day. We're going to hold that off. We're going to move on because the point is, it in DC, Iron Man and Man of Steel. Iron Man was a huge hit, out of nowhere, from a character who a lot of people don't really care about. Man of Steel made some money. It made a lot of money.
It made so much money.
A lot of money.
well, not that much money.
Critically, not nearly as well as Iron Man, because Iron Man was, and here's the point that we're comparing both of these, is that Iron Man was kind of the basis from which the rest of the Marvel Universe expanded from. It set the tone and the pace for which everything else expanded from. And it did it wonderfully.
Right.
Everyone loved Iron Man, and from that, everyone was excited and happy and wanted to see more. Should we go ahead and talk about Man of Steel?
Zach, I think we absolutely should.
All right. Man of Steel.
God.
So I'm sad already. Oh,
Yeah.
Here's okay.
Just shriveled up a little bit.
The difference is Man of Steel. We kind of knew from the get-go that they were going to try to make a cinematic universe from this.
Right.
It's kind of apparent because there are hints to Luthor, and there are hints to like the satellite in space that him and Zod destroy.
Yeah, it's got Wayne
it's got
Enterprises.
Wayne written on it. There's LexCorp trucks running
Oh,
around.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Huh.
you can notice the Luthor one's easier. The Wayne one's pretty quick. If you're not paying attention, it's
Yeah.
once the satellite gets hit, you won't notice. But yeah, go ahead.
But there was a kind of
Okay.
in a nerd culture, everyone was kind of expecting that they were going to launch from this.
Yeah.
They were gonna-
Yeah.
That they were going to propel themselves into that cinematic universe to try to catch up to Marvel.
Mhm.
I've got a lot of strong feelings about that film, but before we get to my diatribe on it, someone else go on to it because that will take too long.
Kenny, go.
Okay. Well, it's just you didn't make a solid film, and you didn't do something that really encapsulated Superman, and we never really attached to him. I think Henry Cavill is not a bad actor, and I don't think he'll be a bad Superman. But what they crafted together was not great. So for this to be a foundational movie in comparison to Iron Man, and let's even compare the like the thresholds that you had to meet. So Iron Man wasn't a lot of expectations, like we've already said. So you weren't expecting it to be huge, and when it did, it just blew expectations. Even for Superman, if you want to be fair, you'd had Superman 4 was horrible. Then you got years, like decade of gap there. You go to Superman Returns, which is just a
Yeah.
So
That was
people weren't
19 years later, 87 to 2006.
people were not expecting you to knock it out of the park. It was just give us something to go with, and you didn't even do that. Like, that's a problem.
Yeah. Jerry.
Superman was not something I grew up necessarily watching a lot, so seeing all the different movies was interesting for me because I saw them out of order. I think the first movie I saw was Superman Returns, and I was like, okay, it was good for never having seen any Superman movies as an introductory for me personally. I knew enough of the backstory of Superman to where I could watch it and understand what was going on a little bit and be like, okay, this is what's going on, I got this. Until the island thing, I just thought it was the weirdest plot ever. But anyways, that's beside the point. Man of Steel, to me, was an improvement over Superman Returns, and that was simply all that I wanted when I saw it.
Okay.
I have to disagree with that one. I can't stomach that one.
Okay.
But Jerry, let Jerry finish.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The reason being because I felt like the Luthor plot in Superman Returns was like the stupidest thing I'd ever seen. I was like, what on earth, like, is this plot? Like, this is dumb. Seeing him try to fight a General Zod and understanding walking into this movie, they were trying to set up something to which they could create a Justice League universe was a different kind of take on it than I was looking for. And so I walked into the movie knowing all that. And I don't necessarily think Man of Steel was a great movie. I think Henry Cavill was great as Superman. That was not my problem at all. I think the issues were it wasn't well thought through. If you want Superman to seem somewhat intelligent at all, I feel like Superman in any sense would have thought through all of those actions better. A lot of the things that he did in the movie didn't necessarily make sense if he was trying to protect humanity or doing anything that he's supposed to represent. I didn't like that. But I can see a very, 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 very small window through which they could use that in the rest of the universe. Like, if Batman could clearly come in and just be pissed off that Superman did all these things, and that could be how they start off fighting, but then kind of Batman learning how to teach Superman to be a hero, a better, smarter one. Because apparently Batman's a seasoned veteran in the coming series, so he's going to be much older than we're used to.
Well, let's focus on Man of Steel before we get on to Batman v Superman.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Hold up. Then let me say something real quick. Then, so going on that, his decisions in Man of Steel, he was not a very smart Superman, and he may not be Batman level genius he gets compared to a lot, or Luthor, obviously, but he's not an idiot. No. And I have a hard time stomaching the way that he's portrayed in Man of Steel compared to other portrayals of Superman. It just doesn't line up.
You are faster than a speeding bullet. You can outrun the tornado.
Yeah, exactly.
That doesn't hold up. It doesn't work. So for that alone, Superman Returns to me would be better because that's Superman. Now, my problem with Superman Returns, I'll just be real quick, is that it didn't set up for another movie. It didn't help them. They kind of got written into a corner with the way that they set that up. Because Bryan Singer has said, it's like, I don't know what we're going to do after that. When we wrote this kid storyline about how that was going to work out, there wasn't a clear way to continue that, and that's what partially led to that getting canned. The next scripts that came after it weren't great. And then with this one, good comparison. Iron Man. If I take out the parts of S.H.I.E.L.D. and I just put some random government agency in there, it still works. Like, Iron Man doesn't need the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents to be in there for it to work. It just adds an element. Whereas I felt like Man of Steel never got that firm footing of the movie on its own before you start adding in potential parts.
Yeah, it's very obvious, and I think a better comparison for Man of Steel would be Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Ooh, yeah.
And you look at these two movies, and it's very obvious that the movies aren't there to tell a story. The movies are there to set up for other stories that they want to use. I think Man of Steel does it better than Amazing Spider-Man 2 in that there is a self-contained plot, even though it's stupid, and the characters are stupid, and the things that happen are stupid, and everything about it, as a general rule, is stupid. Gosh, I lost my train of thought. It was almost like I was saying something stupid. Gosh. Oh, there it was. And so the movie, I don't think it suffers so much from the fact that it's there to set something up. I think the movie suffers from it's trying to be something Superman is not.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
All right.
And Zach, why don't you take it away from us, Mr. You know what? Just Zach, you take it away.
Well, to all of our listeners out there, if you don't know me personally, you may not know that my favorite character in any fiction ever is Superman. Superman is the reason why I became a firefighter, literally. It was inspiration by him that I became a firefighter and a paramedic. I've got plans for multiple Superman tattoos. Superman is my personal hero. So I take this one to heart quite seriously. And since we're comparing Superman Returns versus Man of Steel and the comparisons to Iron Man, I'll bring that up. Kenny and Trevor said a lot of things I agree with. I enjoy Superman Returns far more than I do Man of Steel, and I'm going to bring up 2 points as to why. Tone and character. Most importantly, in Superman Returns, Superman behaves like Superman. He has the honor, the strength, the nobility, and the compassion of Superman. Now, Brandon Routh, his portrayal of the character was a very carbon copy of Christopher Reeve, who to me is Superman. Christopher Reeve has always and will always have the greatest portrayal of that character to me, of that every sense of that character. And I think that when you see Brandon Routh, you can feel that purity and that compassion and that hope. Like whenever you look at him, you feel like he's actually going to be there to save the day. Hold on, I'm going to get to that. Don't worry. Don't worry about that. I will get to it. Because in Superman Returns, Brandon Routh stands there and he's wearing the costume. You feel like he's there to really help somebody. And you can see it throughout the movie. Throughout the movie, whenever he's wearing the costume, what is he doing? He's not fighting people. He's helping people, because that's what Superman does. It's not about violence and action and all that stuff. Everyone complained about there's not enough action in that movie. Well, Superman is more about the helping hand than he is about the clenched fist. He's there to show the light to the people. The people, they can be a great people, Kal-El, they wish to be. They only lack the light to show the way. For this reason, above all else, I send them you, my only son. That right there embodies the character, about leading people on to becoming better people themselves and helping others themselves. That's what Superman Returns stood out to me, that character, that tone about, you know what, Superman Returns is a far more fun movie. It's a far more enjoyable experience watching it. Man of Steel, in every single way, is bogged down in cynicism, dark, and grittiness. And I blame The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises for it. Because DC made so much money off a dark, gritty Batman, they wanted to make a dark, gritty Superman in the same vein, which doesn't equate. Certain characters lend themselves to dark and grittiness. Wolverine is dark and gritty. Daredevil is dark and gritty. Batman is dark and gritty. Spider-Man and Superman are not dark and gritty characters. Superman.
Spider-Man might have a tragic story going on, but yeah, he's not.
But from that, he propels himself into a much lighter tone.
Mm-hmm.
Superman he is that character. Superman is the moralistic center of the comic book universe, from which every single comic book character is a reference to, in some way, shape, or form. They are comparison pieces to the superhero, Superman. Man of Steel is bogged down in every single way, shape, or form in cynicism. Look at the lighting of the picture. It's toned down and gray. His costume is a dark blue and dark red. It's not the lighting.
It's
of the
gotten
entire
even
thing.
darker for the next movie.
The lighting of the entire picture is very dark. If you
There's barely any light in it.
If you look at any single character in their conversations, they're all cynical. What does Perry White tell Lois? I can't print this. What would people think? What does Superman do? Or no, what does Pa Kent tell Superman? Now, in the original 78 picture, Pa Kent tells Clark Kent, you're here for a reason. Now, whatever that is, whatever that may be, I don't know. But I don't think it's for catching footballs and running touchdowns. You're here for a reason. Pa Kent tries to inspire him to become more than just a normal person. What does Pa Kent in The Man of Steel do? He tells them,
be average.
Be average, hide. We think that people are going to take you away. Be scared of the world and hide in a corner. Because
this is the part of the movie that really did chap me. Sorry, I'll let you.
Go ahead, Trevor.
Is that in the Pa Kent is supposed to embody sort of what is best about rural America.
That's why he's a farmer.
Yeah, that sort of earthy, I don't understand the world, but I love it anyway kind of thing.
He is the humanity in which Clark Kent embodies himself with. He's the point of humanity that he refers.
This Pa Kent literally embodies the worst aspects of humanity. It is isolated, xenophobic, selfish, uncaring of how their actions affect others. In every way, he embodies the worst aspects. That alone nearly cripples the movie as a Superman movie.
So, Pa Kent, he was looking at young Child Kent after Child Kent, young Child Clark saves the bus, and the kid's like, what should I have done? Should I let them die? And he says, maybe. That's what you're going to tell your child for the rest of his life, that maybe he should have let the people die so he can hide, which carries out for the rest of the film.
Yep.
Okay, compare the debut of Superman in Superman 78 and Man of Steel. Superman 1978. He leaves the Fortress of Solitude to break himself out into the rest of the world. Yep. Okay. He has reached the pinnacle. He has reached apotheosis, according to Joseph Campbell. He has reached his point of divinity and is returning to the world to shed that light to the rest of the world. And the next 20 minutes are scenes of him saving people. And whenever he returns to the Fortress of Solitude, he tells him, I couldn't stop myself. You don't know how good it felt to help people. Because that's what Superman is. What happens in Man of Steel to draw him out? It literally takes Zod showing up and saying, we need Kal-El, turn him over or we'll kill everyone. And at that point, finally, Clark steps out. After he's got a suit and realizes powers and everything, he steps out to say, okay, I'm right here. And only when Zod threatens his mother does he do anything to save anybody. And by save anybody, I mean he blows up all of Smallville, which is what y'all are talking about. And y'all are referring to it as a point of intellect. It's not a point of intellect to me. This is a point of character. It's not about... He doesn't have that compassion that the real Superman has. He has apathy and nonchalance. Mm-hmm. All he sees is Zod's trying to fight him, and he should fight Zod. And then, instead of like in Dragon Ball Z, when Goku would leave a city to go fight Cell out in the open, in an open world.
All the time. He always led villains away from major population centers to,
Which there's a lot when Goku can things better than you can.
Goku's not a smart man. My point is that Superman would lead him away. Mm-hmm. And all it is just nonstop building destruction. So tone and character. He is not the character of Superman and Man of Steel, and the tone of that movie is dark and cynical when it's not a franchise or a entertainment property that lends itself to that kind of medium.
Yeah.
Mic drop. I'm done.
I got one more note on Pa Kent, because if you go back and watch the first season of Smallville, he kind of starts off that way, but he very quickly gets over that. Because you remember a couple episodes where he's having kind of the similar experiences in the first Superman movie. They recreate some of those scenes where he's like running around the cornfield and like Jonathan Snyder is getting on to him. And then like you see for other seasons, like he finally gets over that. He's like, okay, I can't restrict him like that. But he never says anything to the degree like in Man of Steel. Like that never comes out of his mouth. It's more of a concern. And I feel like it's in Man of Steel, that's a concern that gets blown into something else.
That's a very well done portrayal of the complexity of Jonathan Kent's character done by Jonathan Snyder. Because it's not hide, don't do anything. It's don't show off. I don't want you to be on the football team because I don't want you to hurt other people is what he tells them. I don't want you to be on the football team because I don't want you to break other people. And there's more important things you could be doing than running touchdowns. He doesn't tell them to hide. No, for everything in the first 5 seasons, he displays nothing but pride for the character that is Clark Kent in any single instance in which Clark Kent does what Clark Kent does.
Yeah.
I think this is a great way for us so we've basically been trashing Man of Steel for the last 20
again.
Yeah. And I think this is actually a really good transition because this is the foundation for the massive amount of movies that is coming out.
And that's my problem.
Yeah. And that is not a great way to start off.
All right, so the question becomes, at this point, why would DC allow their most iconic character that they own, which is a nice plus for them, to become something that is the complete opposite of what he has been in every other representation that you've seen, except for the weird evil Justice League. But
money.
Yeah.
Yes,
money.
that's what it boils down to.
It's money. Yeah.
But every other medium they have of like anything involving Superman has portrayed him a different way, and it's made money.
Well,
And I don't understand why they would allow this to happen.
So,
They're-
They've
is what
misread.
some executive said at Warner Brothers Studio. This is what the conversation went. Okay,
All right, go.
so Nolan was involved in Dark Knight. Dark Knight was super gritty and realistic. So Batman plus super and gritty and realistic plus a Nolan equaled giant pile of money. So let's do that with Superman.
And
It'll be great.
Here's another issue, is that Superman Returns actually made more money in America than Batman Begins did. The difference is that Superman Returns had 19 years of development in it, that their budget was so sky high through the roof, they barely made anything off of it. Whereas Batman Begins, they did a few tries between, let's see, it was 97 whenever Batman Returns came out, or Batman and Robin came out, and it was 2005. So there was like at least 10-year difference between 87 and 97 of the end of a franchise and the start of another one.
Yeah.
So it was a much smaller amount of time that they spent a bunch of money trying to produce a new series. Batman made more money for them, so they made a sequel to it, Batman or to The Dark Knight, which made huge money. Now we talked about Superman Returns. They wrote themselves into a corner with the kid. And me and Kyle Nelson, we thought about writing the sequel to Superman Returns, and we couldn't figure anything out because of the kid. we literally couldn't think anything out. And that's, I honestly think at that point, a reboot was in order. And I'm glad they tried. We've talked about the results. However, Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises made huge sums of money. They didn't think the formula worked for them with Superman Returns. They wanted to try something different, and they did, and the money poured in enough for them to care about to make more. I don't like that.
Like if I'm on their side, like I would understand where their logic, but there's a fatal part in there that they're missing, which is why, like, so they've got part of it right, but they're missing the other part. It's like the reason Superman Returns didn't do as well as you thought it should have wasn't because of it wasn't gritty or matching the current themes you think it ought to be. It's just because you locked yourself up. And if they knew that, then they'd possibly be able to write something better.
And here's another thing that's a big issue with this. All right, so they're going from from Man of Steel to their Dawn of Justice garbage.
Batman v Superman. Which do we want to talk about the slate of films that's coming out?
I'm gonna segue
I want
into that.
to, I want to get in that, but I have one more thing to say after Trevor.
All right, Trevor, Kenny, and then we'll talk about the slate. Go.
So here's the thing: they're going from Man of Steel to Batman versus Superman. It took them, and there's supposedly a bunch of characters that are going to be in this. Flash, Wonder Woman, I think Aquaman also might be having a small appearance in it as well. I think Cyborg might also be in it. So a lot of characters in this movie. Here's the thing. Marvel, it took them a long time to build up to the Avengers. It took them years. So this would be like if Marvel had gone from
4 years.
Yeah, it took them 4 years. So this would be like if Marvel had went, hey, Iron Man was a really big success. Let's make Avengers now.
Essentially.
Yeah, that deafening silence is of people who are literally some of the biggest Marvel and DC fans I know. And when they're going, ugh, that's not great.
Okay.
And that is going to be the foundation for a massive, ridiculous slate of movies that we will talk about in just a moment.
Kenny.
All right. Before we get into the slate of movies, I'm going to highlight my number one problem with and the difference between Marvel and DC. Before you get into the execs and before you get into tone, before you get into the money. Honestly, there's two articles that just came out today or yesterday about this director that I felt like hit it right on the nail. Marvel has Joss Whedon, And also, actually, you can add in Kevin Feige helming and making sure that universe is cohesive and makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you got one guy, Kevin Feige, who is
Yeah.
the producer over the entire universe. Joss Whedon.
I'm saying, but Joss Whedon still has some input into that.
Yeah,
He's
he's mainly leading the charge on the first 2 Avengers films.
correct.
Yeah.
And then on DC, you have Zack Snyder, and other than 300, which even that movie has its problems, what has he done that's been honestly a critically acclaimed and a very successful movie? Watchmen was sort of critically acclaimed, but it barely cracked 60.
Yeah.
Like if you go back and look at Rotten Tomatoes, it's not 70 if I remember correctly. It's like hovering in like 60 something, and then the rest of his movies are kind of other garbage. Even Dawn of the Dead, I might have fun watching that movie, but it's not a good movie. Sucker Punch was horrible. Was certified rotten. So this is the guy that you want to take care of your baby. I'm not buying it.
They're all super dark too, like super duper dark, and you're trying to build a universe where most of your characters aren't necessarily all that dark.
Yeah, you have a guy that likes a particular paint scheme for all of his movies, and you're going to kind of console them all into that, and I just don't feel good about it.
Oh, you shouldn't. You really shouldn't, Kenny.
So,
Yeah.
Jerry, any thoughts?
My thoughts are just, I don't understand why DC can't hire even a better, like, lower name director. Like, really, you can look at this guy's work and read 3 comic books with 3 of your characters. All right, so main characters for the Justice League, all right, that are popular. We'll go with Superman, and we're going to count out Batman because everybody knows Batman, Wonder Woman, and The Flash. All right, so you've got a super strong, like, female lead, which, congratulations, DC. You are going to be the first ones to take the charge on, like, a main female character that is pretty popular. Go you. But you also have The Flash thrown in there. Why not take the fantastic TV universe you've already made, for one? Use one of those guys. Frick. You're super successful there. Everybody likes that. I have not met a single person that said anything bad about Green Arrow or The Flash, the TV show.
I didn't like him.
I've heard people say bad stuff about Green Arrow, but not about the Flash. This pains me to defend DC and Warner Brothers, but I'm actually going to defend their decision to not do that. And
No, I'm not saying use the same universe. I'm saying at least pull one of the same directors that can, like, get the feel at least. Not Zach.
Like actually borrow from the talent there. Oh, that's a good idea.
All right. So, this is my opinion as to why it's happening this way. DC and Marvel are run extremely different. DC is owned by Warner Brothers. Marvel is owned by Disney.
Mm-hmm.
For what seems like the most part, Disney is letting Marvel do its Marvel thing. And whenever Marvel started, they weren't owned by Disney. Whenever they started all this, they were their own company, and they paired up with Paramount up until the first 6 or 7 movies. And along the way, Disney bought them, and Disney's still allowing Marvel to do as they please. And they've got a Marvel fan, Kevin Feige, a Marvel fan, running the show inside the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Whereas it seems to be, on DC's side, it's Warner Brothers, the picture production company, not the DC company, who is pushing for all this to happen because they want that incoming money. That Warner Brothers is saying, bring us that money. Make this cinematic universe. Why aren't you doing this? Put it out there. And they're putting Hollywood directors to lead the way, not comic book company men to lead the way.
Yep. 1,000 yeses.
So, let's talk about what's coming out.
Oh, God.
Starting next year, March 25th, 2016, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Wait, really? It's March 25th?
Yep.
It's going head-to-head with Captain America 3 Civil War.
Is it really? When is Captain America 3 coming
No,
out?
I thought that's the reason. I thought that's the reason it moved was because it was.
Yes. They were on the same day, and they
They
split
played
them.
chicken and then they lost.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Oh, God.
Batman v Superman was supposed to come out the same day as Captain America 3.
Jeez, why March?
And
Nothing
they pushed
good comes out
themselves
in
forward
March.
by 2 months. So, March, Batman v Superman, directed by Zack Snyder. Let's see, 5 months later, August 5th, Suicide Squad. The following, and then we got in 2017, Wonder Woman in June, Justice League Part 1 in November. 2018, March again, because that's when all the good movies are out. You got The Flash. Later that year, in July, Aquaman. The following April 2019, Shazam. June 2019, Justice League Part 2, which, I'll reiterate this, that is almost 20 months after Justice League Part 1. 20 months between Justice League Part 1 and Justice League Part 2, with 3 films in the middle.
Hey,
And
real quick, before you proceed, Avengers Infinity Part 1 and Part 2, what's the difference between those? Is it just a year difference?
A year. It's 2018, 2019, and I think it's the same release weekend. It's like second weekend in May, or third weekend in May, 2018, 2019.
All right. Sorry, go ahead.
And then the last 2 films they've announced is April 3rd, 2020, Cyborg, and Green Lantern, June 2020.
A long way.
Not really. It's
only 5 years.
Yeah. They're releasing 10 movies in 5. God, it'll be so bad. I have zero doubt in my mind that the best case scenario for this massive franchise they are launching will be mediocrity. Like, zero doubt in my mind.
So, that's the movies that are coming out. Let's talk about Batman v Superman. And do we want to go ahead and get the elephant out of the room? Because I'll go and say it.
Let's do
goodness.
it.
Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
Um,
I actually have no problems with Ben Affleck being.
yeah.
It's the elephant in the room because of the internet. The internet
The internet might hate it, but
hates Ben Affleck.
If Zack Snyder was not the director, I actually would feel better about Ben Affleck doing it. Honestly, if Ben Affleck was directing the movie and him even being an actor in the movie, I feel it would be better than Zack Snyder doing it.
He's
like
been on Ben Affleck.
direction.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, he is. When Ben Affleck is given a long leash in a movie, he's actually pretty darn good.
I just saw Gone Girl. He did great in it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think fanboys, they sort of remember Daredevil, and they went, oh no, Zach, blah, 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 blah.
To be fair, there's a lot of stuff going on during that
I don't
time.
blame Ben Affleck for Daredevil. I blame Mark Steven Johnson, the director of it, who mired it in mediocrity and chose to not let it ascend above just a normal superhero film, because it's playing to the beats of a superhero film. It's like, look, we got an origin. Look, we got action. Look, we got a villain. That's it. There's nothing to it more than what's the bare basics.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what's going to happen with Batman v Superman, but I've got more faith in Ben Affleck being a decent Batman.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's going to... I think he'll be a great Bruce Wayne, and I think he'll be a decent Batman. That's my...
I could get.
Jerry,
What's up, Jerry?
you've been kind of quiet.
I can agree with all that. Like, because Ben Affleck, especially recently, has just been like on point.
Oh.
Like, I've just been good. I can see him definitely playing the Bruce Wayne role for sure. I'm not so sure about the Batman just because I can't picture him behind the mask, but I've also never seen him try since Daredevil. So that's
he's
a long time.
refused. He's refused to do one since Daredevil.
Yeah.
And this was the big thing.
Have you seen The Town?
No, I haven't seen The Town.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and so that makes me believe he can pull off something like that.
Here's the thing, though, is that of all the films I stated in that film slate coming out until 2020, there's no single Batman film on there.
I noticed that.
Yep.
There's no Superman film on there.
Yep.
But there's a Suicide Squad.
Exactly.
That's strange.
Suicide Squad's going to get a movie, but right now they've not announced. That's the key phrasing. They've not announced a solo Batman film. Because here is the only hope I have out of all this, is that some point along the line, Ben Affleck will get to direct a Batman film. And that is what I'm holding out hope for in this entire thing.
Okay.
That could be good. That could be very good. It would be hilarious. It would be like just the comic book irony of the century if the DC movie franchise started to flag, and then Ben Affleck sort of became the Josh Whedon of DC and ended up saving it.
Ooh, 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 ooh! I'm excited.
That would be like I wouldn't be excited. It would just be incredibly funny. He can grab Kevin Smith to help him write dialogue, and
or Matt Damon.
Yeah, Matt Damon can play Robin.
Damon.
Matt Damon can play Robin.
I mean,
what was
as
his
soon
tweet
as they
about
announced
that? He's not
Batman-
going to play effing Robin.
as soon as they announced Ben Affleck as Batman, that meme was out there about Matt Damon playing Robin.
It was instant. It was instant.
But I would rather see Matt Damon play a villain, like maybe Two-Face or Scarecrow. Or we've already seen both of those, so I'd like to see something different. Maybe Hugo Strange.
I could see him playing a good Hugo Strange.
Or
Ooh,
Mr. Freeze.
oh, Red Hood.
Wait, you mean like
You still snuck Robin in there.
like you're talking about Jason Todd as Red Hood? All right,
That's pretty good.
That's funny. I give you 10 points.
I'm not amused.
It's beautiful.
You have a problem.
I got it instantly.
Oh God! I was like,
Trevor. Oh.
all right.
So good. Mm.
So, what do y'all think about them splitting up Justice League into two movies?
That's stupid.
I don't care.
Like, for one thing, okay, Avengers Part 3 and Part 4, or whatever it's going to be, Avengers 3, Part 1, Part 2, the third and fourth Avengers movies will be two movies in one. It's going to be split movies. It's Avengers Infinity Gauntlet, 2018. It's going to be Avengers Infinity Gauntlet Part 1. The following year, Avengers Infinity Gauntlet Part 2.
Wait. How'd you say that?
Avengers Infinity Gauntlet Part 2.
Okay,
Yeah.
but it's just two movies, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay, the way you said that, I thought you meant three. Sorry. No,
Or it's Infinity War, I think. The title
yeah,
is
Infinity Wars Part 1 and Infinity War Part 2.
Yeah, 2018, 2019. 1 year
Okay,
apart.
okay.
Whereas this Justice League movie is going to be 20 months apart in two movies.
To be fair, they probably need it so they can make even more crap, but...
I don't understand what Justice League plotline would require 3 independent movies in between it because it's so long and so overarching.
Because that's exactly it. Because they're having to rush all this. They're not laying any foundations. They're throwing it all together piecemeal. So they're just trying to do the absolute bare minimum they think they can get away with to get a Justice League movie out there. Because they
The only way,
want an Avengers movie.
there's only one way that I could plausibly see that working, and that's a long shot. And if they pulled off some sort of alternate universe thing in which there were 2 Justice Leagues, but other than that, which I don't think they're smart enough to do that currently.
No,
I don't see this.
that
Would be cool. I hope I'm wrong. That would be so sweet. But I don't think I'm wrong.
I don't see them having the competency to make that idea a good movie. I seriously
Yeah.
think that.
But that's the only way that possibly sort of makes sense.
And the only thing, again, so we already know their logic's faulty, so let's go ahead and throw another stone in their faulty logic. They're probably thinking they've already established such a strong Batman universe, which clearly is not going to connect to Ben Affleck if you're outside observer, but whatever. So they're starting a new Batman. You're at least in the Marvel universe, you had Iron Man going on at the same time before you got to Avengers, and all you had to do is make one successful Thor movie and one successful Captain America movie before you got to Avengers, and everything was going to be solid. Incredible Hulk came out there. It was decent. So I mean, you had a solid stepping stone before you got there. Even if we're not even going to talk about the solid success of Iron Man, just the movies leading up to it were doing well on their own right, and all you had to do is drop these little threads in the movie to lead up to Avengers.
Yeah.
Which, I just want to bring something up, is that all this stuff about universe building coming out, think about the ones that you say are always the best films. And what do they all have in common? They are single stories,
Yeah.
Yeah.
self-contained.
Actually, I have a slight addendum to that. As a general rule, the best films of a franchise are the second ones. And like some of the best films we've ever seen have been sequels,
Hmm.
In the Marvel franchise or in general?
just in general.
Well, I mean, like, it's a self-contained story, as in Iron Man 1 is a self-contained story. For the first 2 hours, up until the credit rolls, it is self-contained. It's just Iron Man. Now,
Yeah.
there's hints of S.H.I.E.L.D. being out there. S.H.I.E.L.D.'s like, hey, we're there. But there's no hints of, oh my god, look, there's so much of the rest of the world out there, until Nick Fury shows at the end of the movie, he says the words Avengers Initiative.
Yeah.
Which is after the movie. Because really, it's not a part of the movie. It's everything up till the credits.
And really, nobody even knew to watch that either.
Yeah, I mean, there were rumors, and I remember sitting there hearing rumors about Nick Fury, and I remember sitting in the IMAX in Nashville, going through the credits, being like, I heard Nick Fury was going to be in it. I heard Sam Jackson, like, stick around. Maybe there's something afterwards. Something told me to wait around. And there was Nick Fury, and he said the words Avengers Initiative, and all of a sudden our minds were blown. And 3 days later, they announced Iron Man 2, Captain America, and Thor. Which, if you think about those three movies, people usually rip on them for being only setups to Avengers. I thoroughly love Captain America. But Thor, the Thor movies are some of my least favorites.
Yeah.
Iron Man 2, everyone rips on it for being a giant setup to Avengers. It's because they spend so much time trying to build that universe.
Mm-hmm.
Avengers is a self-contained story.
Yep.
Iron Man 3 is a self-contained story. Captain America, Iron Man 3, I mean, really, it's just like, as a sequel, yes, you know everything's happened beforehand, and there's complications from
It
that.
felt like an epilogue to Avengers, honestly.
To me, it felt like, yes, of course, it's going to come off of everything else before it, but it's not that you had to, oh my god, I can't wait for the next one. It's just Iron Man. That's it. As soon as it's over, it's done.
I will say that the four best movies that Marvel's come out with have been Iron Man, Avengers, Captain America 2, and Guardians of the Galaxy.
Which, those last two there are self-contained.
All four of them are self-contained.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's not always about like, oh my god, this is going to be good if we build a universe off of it. Sometimes they need to just concentrate on making one good movie.
And DC is absolutely not going to do that. None of these movies look like they're going to be self-contained, even a little bit.
Right.
Nope.
Gosh, it's not.
It's a rush.
Yeah.
It's a rush for money.
It's a rush job.
And the problem is, a couple of them are going to make enough money, and they're not going to realize their mistake until it's like too late. Because I bet you, like, just Batman and Superman being on screen alone is going to secure however many hundreds of millions of dollars alone.
Like, there's
because we've wanted to see that for a long time.
Like, we all are doing nothing but ripping on this movie, and there's a decent chance all four of us are going to go see it.
No, don't even question that.
Either.
As a self-respecting nerd, I have no option, no choice, but to watch the first ever on-screen meeting, live action of Batman and Superman.
Yeah.
I don't care what it takes. I have to watch it.
And that makes my stomach turn.
And here's the biggest issue of it, is that's what I just said. It's the first ever, after 70 years, the first ever live action introduction of Batman and Superman on screen together. And all we're doing is sitting here in pure skepticism and non-hype about it.
And that's not how it should have been. It should have been one of the happiest moments for nerds everywhere to see this finally coming together. Yet, we have no hope.
The symbol, it stands for hope. Maybe you should tell the rest of the movie, Superman. Just saying.
Here's hoping that movie is more than just an F.
God.
No, it's going to be full of meh.
Yeah.
Full of meh.
I'm betting more meh than bad. That's my personal bet.
So, does anyone... Oh, Jerry?
That might be a problem in itself. It might. All the movies might just be meh. There may not be a lot of stinkers.
Yeah.
Depending on the directors and so on and so forth. Sorry, Zach.
I was going
Okay,
to close
let's
it
go
out, but I was going to ask me if you might have any final thoughts, and apparently y'all do, so keep going.
I want to go back to a couple things real quick, or at least one thing. I want to go back to a couple things that I think DC has got going for them in the midst of this. I do genuinely like their portrayal of Aquaman, from what I have been able to see.
Let's
thus
talk about
far.
that. Most everyone probably has seen the picture of Jason Momoa as Aquaman.
Unite the Seven.
Unite the Seven. All right, Jerry, continue.
Aquaman, in general, when you practically think about Aquaman, you think, okay, Aquaman, he's this guy that lives 20,000 leagues under the sea. Yeah, he's basically Poseidon.
Yeah.
If you think about what he would be like on land, he would almost be able to rival Superman's strength. It's already been established that he can actually hurt Superman because he's magic, which makes him that much more terrifying. He looks exactly as terrifying as he should be. And so it makes me think that maybe somebody actually does know what they're doing, at least with Aquaman's character, in the midst of this.
Well,
Okay. Yeah, but if they're going to throw Aquaman into it, they had to make him as cool as humanly possible.
because they're
They had it-
battling an uneducated culture
Yeah.
of people who think they know something about comics. Because in Family Guy, they made fun of Aquaman one time. And ever since then, like I remember at work one day, my ex-girlfriend was sitting there ripping on Aquaman. Clearly, no understanding of the post-New 52 Jeff Johns interpretation. And I literally told her, your ignorance
Yep.
is abounding.
Putrid.
People
Just,
don't know about this new Aquaman and how awesome he is in the New 52 universe written by Jeff Johns. So they're going to have to go on this giant spree of re-education of the American culture and the zeitgeist who thinks they know something that they don't know anything about, because one time in Family Guy, they made fun of Aquaman.
Don't forget, South Park also made fun of Aquaman.
Another point. Yes.
But also, along with that, so you have Aquaman, who is the king of a nation. You also have Themyscira, which is, I think I mispronounced that, but whatever.
The what?
Wonder
Oh,
Woman's
the mascara.
Oh.
Themyscira, sorry. You have that. And I've seen a couple times where Themyscira and Aquaman have been at war with each other. You have a couple nations that exist in the midst of this. So you have the natural world, but you're also adding in two other complete like countries or what.
Yeah,
however.
but I don't think they're using that origin with Wonder Woman. I think they're using something else.
I believe they said that she's a demigod.
Wait, what?
I think she is from some other world. I'm not sure. Not another world, but like the daughter of Zeus or something like that, or stepdaughter or something.
Whatever.
I don't know. We'll find out in Batman v Superman.
So I want to give DC some credit for something before we either keep beating up or call this quits. Their TV shows are pretty good. They're not.
And all their animated stuff's been
Oh
pretty.
gosh, their animated stuff is amazing.
Here's something that we should talk about: the DC animated universe from the early '90s, the mid '90s.
Oh, so good.
Batman the Animated Series, my favorite cartoon of all time. Superman the Animated Series, Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, Batman Beyond, something called Static Shock. I don't know anything about that, but
Hey,
I love Static Shock.
I don't know. I don't know anything about it. That's why I said it. But
Me and Kenny rolled up into one character.
Wow. But yes.
okay, so I thought we weren't going to say any racist jokes on here, but all right. Thank you, Jerry.
Well,
No, his personality is Kenny and I.
Let's just move on for the love of God.
okay.
All right, moving on. Point is, DC has done this before, and they actually did it before Marvel. They created a universe, and they did it right.
Yeah, they did.
And
Yeah,
for some
they did.
reason now, that's what they... There we go. We got the solution. Someone call Bruce Timm.
Yeah.
Someone call him.
Because you had the animated series and Superman and the Justice League, all of those wove into one, like even Batman Beyond and Static Shock, and it all worked.
Yeah.
Like they were able to play off of certain different episodes and things that had happened, and
Yeah, because they had introduced in Superman, they had introduced both Flash and Green Lantern.
And Batman.
Well,
No, Batman was the start of it. Batman the Animated Series was the first thing that came
Yep.
out.
and then they did.
Yeah, but I'm-
Superman.
Both in the universe.
what's that? Well, no,
was thinking-
Batman started. You had the Batman and you had Superman, and then you also had the Batman and Superman Adventures around the same time, and then you eventually got to Justice League.
Yeah. And all that was a great way to build up. And so why they didn't just make,
Well, that's the thing, is that the reason what they did so well is that that's, to a lot of people, that's the interpretation of Batman. That interpretation of Batman's perfect. It's spot on. It's exactly what Batman should be. The tone is there, the sound is there, the look is there. It looks, feels, sounds, smells like Batman. It is Batman. It's a great show. It's one of the greatest cartoons. Mm-hmm. Superman, almost as good as Batman. It's not as good, but
but
it
is very good. And
Lex Luthor is very good in that, and then that's Lex Luthor we get in Justice League. And
Darkseid was also amazing in that.
Yes. So they've done this before.
The Joker.
Yeah.
Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill's Joker and
So they've epitomized these characters before, and they've done them well, and then they brought them together.
Mm-hmm.
Yet this time with the films, they're going the exact opposite route. They have screwed up Superman. I don't know what they're doing with Batman, but already you can tell from the onslaught of the start of the tone. I didn't mean to say onslaught. The onset of the start of the tone they've produced in Man of Steel. It doesn't feel like they're going to bring them together in that quality way because it's already started off on the wrong foot.
Yeah. So that's about it.
Yeah. Gosh, just
unless someone can fix it.
Bruce
Timm.
Like someone call Bruce Timm
over all those films, but yeah.
Any final thoughts?
Right now.
No, it's just really sad because all of us love these characters. I love them. I absolutely love them. And it's just going to be really sad to watch them drowning in mediocrity for the next 5 years.
Which I think is why we're all beating up on them so much, is that everyone here loves Batman. I love Superman as a character.
Yeah. My thoughts on Batman are a little bit different. I'm sad, because I got the Nolan trilogy. I'm good. Honestly, I'm good. I got some of really the best portrayal of him that I've seen since in my life. So I'm good. What I'm more sad about is that now he finally gets to interact with these characters, and it's going to be potentially horrible. But as far as his solo act, I'm pretty content.
Yeah.
Unless they find a way to screw that up too. But.
Is that we're not here nerd raging and nerd ranting because we're picking on it and being bullies. It's because we care. It's because we're fans and because we want good, great, decent, awesome adventures. And we just feel like they're not heading in that direction.
And Trevor, I don't know who your favorite superhero is, but I know Zach and Kenny and I, all of our favorite superheroes are DC. Zach loves Superman, Kenny loves Batman, I really love Green Lantern. It hurts to know what is coming.
Yeah.
Yep. So unless anyone has any final thoughts, I think we have beaten this horse to death and death again, and we have used con blood to bring it back and beat it one more time to death.
To be perfectly honest, I feel like we could go another hour.
Yeah.
I really, really do.
I kind of want to talk about Fantastic Four, but maybe we should separate.
No, that's another.
That's another day.
Yeah.
So, I think we're going to go and sum it up. DC is creating a universe. We would all feel disappointed with what was given to us in Man of Steel. In that they have screwed up the tone, the characters, and they have changed it to a dark, gritty world that doesn't epitomize the characters and really bring the characters to the greatest forefront. There's a lot coming out in the next few years, and trust me, I'll be there watching them. I'll be there with you all. Opening nights, in anticipation of a decent production, in hopes of a decent production. But right now, I think we are all set in pretty much stowing away in a sad bit of disappointment.
Yeah.
So hopefully, whenever these films come out, we will have a better discussion about how much we were wrong and how much we enjoyed them. But until that day comes, that will do it for State of the Nerd Union tonight. Once again, Joined by Trevor Law, Kenneth Ship, Jerry Maynard, and me.
Woo!
I'm Zach Nichols. Good night, everybody.